Okay, I have got to talk about this absolutely god-awful McDonald's AI commercial business that's been making the rounds these days. It's it's so fascinating because it's not the first AI commercial. Like Coca-Cola's already done a couple of those, and I'm sure some other companies are getting in on it. I think there was a Subnautica one a few years ago, and it's arguably not even like the worst one. Like I some of the ones, especially the ones that are bold enough to use liquid physics in them, are usually like way worse in terms of quality. But the way that this commercial was constructed and the subject matter of it, and especially the response to the backlash of the commercial, it demonstrates the kinds of insane mental gymnastics that the people who are so all in on AI content and everything, just the insane mentality that these people have to adopt to justify their quote unquote art form that they're trying to so desperately to make into a thing, that like it's worth dissecting the travesty that is this commercial to talk about that. Now, let's start by actually going over their PR response to the backlash to this commercial, because it really showcases some of the insane mental gymnastics that these kinds of AI tech bros keep having to jump through in order to justify their existence. Because like it starts off like they obviously took it down, so I've had to sort of piece it together from other people reporting on it, and from what I can find, it starts off with them talking about how, like, oh, we worked on this for like 7 weeks. We had 10 of our in-house AI specialists and working on this, around the clock. We lost sleep over this. Every shot was traveled through a rigorously engineered tool chain and just tons of buzzwords over and over. And like at the end of the day, this wasn't an AI trick. It was a film made by people. We had to solve impossible problems in order to make this work. And it's like there's this paradox with the AI mindset, because every day you hear about these proponents of AI talking about how, like, oh, the technology is so impressive, it's only getting better, it's only going to keep getting better and better with every passing day. And like, they want to tout that because they're all in on this technology and they need it to get better to justify their investment. But then at the same time, they don't want to come off like they're lazy, because ultimately all that they're really doing is just playing the role of a commissioner for a program that makes the art for them. They didn't actually film or record anything. They're just telling a computer to make things on their behalf. But if they were honest about that, then it would make them come off like lazy assholes who don't want to actually pay real artists to do real work, which they are, to be clear. But they have to make it sound like they had to work super hard to make this technology seem worthwhile. But at the same time, the harder they have to work to make a product like this using AI, then that makes the technology look worse by extension. You're telling me that they spent upwards of 2 months with like nearly a dozen people all working with various AI software generating programs in order to make this commercial, and this terrible thing was the final product? Like, it would be one thing if it was just something they shat out in an afternoon by throwing a couple of prompts into Sora or something, but they allegedly put effort into this and it's still this bad. That only makes the technology look that much more insanely worse, and it makes them look incompetent. But no, like, they totally work super hard on this, I swear. And then beyond their PR statement, if we actually take a look at the subject of the commercial itself, it showcases how insanely out of touch and nonsensical these guys must think to believe that putting out a commercial like this would actually be successful. Like, even if it wasn't AI generated, the premise for the commercial alone is completely batshit insane. Like, like, I think what they were trying to do was talk about like the stress of the holidays, and talk about like, oh, like it's so stressful to go out holiday shopping and get all these things right and having to deal with all of these different factors at the same time. And like, I kind of understand what they were trying to say, but it comes off like they just are absolutely shitting on one of the most beloved times of the year for so many people. And it's like, it's so ridiculously out of touch. It makes it seem like, oh, you don't want to hang out with your family during the holidays, you should come to McDonald's instead. And it's like, it's one of those things where if the premise wasn't AI generated as well, which I honestly would not be shocked if it was, it sounds like the kind of premise that was created by like a CEO that is so wildly out of touch with like normal humanity that, like, of course this is where their mind went to when trying to think of a holiday commercial, and of course they wouldn't realize just how insanely bad this is. And like, that's one of the problems with AI, is that because AI reduces the number of people that it takes to put a project like this together, it means that there's a more direct line of communication from the CEO's brain to the end product that doesn't get filtered through a series of people that has like common sense in order to try and interpret and adjust the idea into something workable. Like, if this was actually made by humans, like actually shooting and editing and writing the commercial and figuring out how to frame everything, then this could have been made a million times better by more accurately framing it, like what I was saying earlier, with like framing it about the stressful parts of the holidays rather than making it come off like it just hates the holidays altogether. And like, speaking of human made, I feel like that's kind of the most baffling aspect of this whole debacle, because this commercial, it isn't even that like insane of a concept. It doesn't really feel like they're really doing anything with the technology that would be difficult to do by just filming this on the streets in an afternoon. Like, you're seriously telling me that they spent 7 weeks like creating this commercial with AI? I feel like Corridor Digital could probably recreate this entire commercial from scratch in like, what, like 2 or 3 days with just a handful of extras and some basic recording equipment. Like look at most of these shots. Like, this first shot here is literally just a family in a car with a bunch of presents goes under a bridge. That's it. That would take 2 seconds to film. Just get a couple of cardboard boxes, cover them in gift wrap, and drive the car under your local low-hanging bridge. Done. That's the entire shot. This shot is literally just a guy on a bicycle, which, by the way, that bicycle is nonsensical, but it's just a guy biking with a big tree. You could go to your local Christmas tree yard with a bike and film that. You could even fake the incline by just tilting the camera. That's it. That's all you'd have to do. A bunch of Christmas carolers singing outside of a McDonald's. Again, just get a couple of extras off the street, film it, done. Why does the teddy bear have creepy human teeth? Maybe this shot could be maybe leave out the teddy bear shot. I feel like that one maybe we don't need. But like Santa, the reindeer, that might take a little bit more effort, but you could probably cut around that and just have Santa in his sleigh, just get a guy with a Santa outfit, put him in the middle of a street. Maybe you could CGI in a reindeer or two with some free assets from like the Unreal store or something. Simple enough shot, really easy to do. A guy exploding from a tree, like, first of all, the way this tree explodes is like, something about that is the most AI like thing ever. But again, cord, like, you could edit in some basic effects around the window breaking, just pull a guy into some snow, done. Like, all of these shots, and by the way, there's like a million like 2-second shots because they're again working around the limitations of AI, because even today AI cannot handle lengthy shots because it is terrible at handling basic continuity, so they have to keep cutting every 2 seconds, if that, in order to make it so that the video doesn't just completely fall apart. And as a result, it just has a million of these shots that are just so like bad and baffling to look at, and it's like these aren't even that hard to recreate. Like, this is probably the most elaborate shot in the entire ad, is just all the lights going out in this city, but even that would be actually really easy to do, because all you would have to do is film a skyline of a city as the sun is setting, waiting for the lights to turn on, and then play it in reverse, and then you've got it. Like, all of these shots, I'm half convinced I could recreate most of these shots in person with just a basic iPhone and a right snowy scenery. Like, it's such a simple premise that there's no way that, like, if it really took them 7 weeks of crunch to make something like this, then they absolutely wasted their money. But yeah, in the end, I feel like this commercial demonstrates just the sheer level of sham that AI still is, even to this day. I mean, how long have we continued to keep like being told by all of these companies and everything that, like, oh, AI is only going to keep getting better, it's only going to it's going to be the future of every technology in every field, it's going to be everywhere. And yet the latest demonstrations of companies legitimately trying to use AI in real world use cases, like creating this commercial, or the recent what is it, banana fish dub on Amazon that was like AI generated as well. And it's like, and all of these examples are still so bad. Like, the technology, it gets more technically impressive with time. I don't think there's any denying that. Like, it's better at counting fingers than it was a couple years ago. And yet it doesn't feel like the quality of the output itself has actually gotten better, if that makes sense. Like, there's more technology behind it, there's more money getting thrown at it, and yet it's still this bad at this point. Like, there's no way this technology really has any future, you know? And like, something that I've seen a few people saying that I 100% agree with is that if this technology, if generative AI really was the future and it was really going to be used everywhere, then they wouldn't have to keep telling us that, you know? We didn't have to pay employees to constantly watch YouTube videos all day because we were convinced it was the future, and we needed to force all of our employees to farm engagement with YouTube or Facebook, you know? We didn't have to be convinced that smartphones were going to be the future by all of these companies trying to shove them down our throats. People were raving at the, you know, seats to grab them as soon as they were showed off. You know, we didn't have to be convinced to get DVDs over VHSs, you know, back in the day when movies were still being sold on physical media. Like, those kinds of technologies actually did evolve, like, everything related to them, and became the future in their respective fields. But generative AI, we keep having to be told it's the future. We keep having to have people try and prove that it's going to be everywhere. And the more that they keep trying to force it on us, the less confident I am that it actually is going to be the future. And the more and more I personally believe that they're only doing this because they've already invested so much money in the technology, and they need it to be the future to have any chance of possibly recuperating their costs. And to be frank, it's just not going to happen. But as always, I'm happy to continue the conversation in the comments down below. Feel free to discuss just how absolutely god-awful this commercial is, because this kind of shit is just so fun to dunk on that this and many other AI-generated stuff is probably going to live down in infamy for years to come, especially when this entire bubble pops within, I don't know, like 18, 24 months, who knows? Hopefully sooner rather than later. Feel free to leave your bets on when the AI bubble will pop in the comments below. And as usual, if you like the video, make sure to leave me a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this in the future. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next one.